Emma Johnston, whose smile could light up a room, had always been the Johnston family's bright spot. However, something new was developing beneath that smile, a gentle, peaceful love that she wasn't yet ready to reveal to the world. Jack was the first. Words couldn't quite describe the instantaneous bond they had. He was more than simply a boyfriend. He was someone who gave Emma a sense of belonging, understanding, and recognition that she had never had before. Their love was initially kept under covers, concealed in the little things like late-night phone conversations, covert meetings, and subtly telling glances. Emma was afraid of how her family would respond if they found out about her sentiments too soon because she knew they valued tradition and control. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into one of the most shocking twists in the world of reality TV. A story that has fans of 7 Little Johnstons absolutely buzzing. Buckle up, because this one is filled with love, defiance, and family drama. However, love has a way of making itself known. Friends started to notice Emma's glowing eyes and the unmistakable warmth with which she spoke about Jack. Rumors that Emma might be falling for someone special began to circulate among fans. Those whispers meant nothing to Emma. The truth in her heart that she was in love with Jack was what counted. This marked the start of a tale that would put her devotion to the test, undermine her family's authority, and ultimately force her to decide between freedom and obedience. Emma Johnston had spent enough time hiding her secret. With every day that went by, the weight of silence increased, and the silent romance with Jack became too intense to conceal. She was aware that the time had come for her to break the news to her family. It took place one evening in the cozy surroundings of the Johnston residence. Amber and Trent sat with their customary guarded demeanor. As the family gathered around, the younger siblings laughing. Emma's heart pounded. She wasn't merely disseminating information. She was going to question the fundamental tenets of her family's expectations. Emma took a big breath before speaking. At first, her voice wavered, but it steadied as she told Jack that she was in love with him and wanted to marry him. Heavy and unwavering, the words lingered in the atmosphere. Suddenly, the room moved. Trent leaned forward, scowling as he tried to take in his daughter's words. Amber's face stiffened, and her silence said more than words. The siblings looked at one another, unsure whether to be shocked or curious. It was a liberating moment for Emma. At last, she had spoken the truth and stopped concealing the love that had shaped every thought she had. However, it was the start of a storm for the Johnston family, one that would put ties, loyalty, and the very definition of family to the test. Unity had always been the foundation of the Johnston household. The family dealt with difficulties together, no matter how big or small. However, Emma's admission quickly upset that equilibrium. The matriarch, Amber Johnston, remained steadfast. Emma could not wed Jack, she said in a piercing voice. For Amber, it was about timing, accountability, and the fear of losing control over her daughter's future. It wasn't just about love. Ever the negotiator, Trent attempted to defuse the situation. He urged Emma to pause and think again, reminding her of the family's principles. However, the pain of Amber's rejection was not lessened by his cool demeanor. The siblings were caught in the crossfire and watched from the sidelines. Some people appreciated Emma's bravery and her resolve to follow her heart. Others paused, wondering if it was worth the chance of causing the family to fall apart to oppose their parents. Emma could see the difference. She stood on one side of a line created by her family after speaking her truth. Amber and Trent, clinging to custom and authority, were on the other side. Tension reverberated throughout the Johnston home, which had previously been a place of laughing and camaraderie. Every glance reminded Emma of her decision, and every exchange held the weight of dissent. The Johnston home was at an all-time high in terms of tension. The family had already been rocked by Emma's admission, but it was now difficult to ignore the rift. Trent's attempts at reconciliation failed. Amber's rejection reverberated through the walls, and the siblings were left in the center. But Emma had had enough of quiet. Her eyes were unblinking, her speech solid, and she stood tall. In front of her parents, she stated the truth that had been burning inside her. "I love Jack very much, and I want to marry him." The words were not merely uttered. They were inscribed in the atmosphere, unquestionable and unalterable. Emma saw this as a declaration of independence rather than just a declaration of love. She had stopped requesting permission. She was asserting her autonomy to make her own decisions. Amber responded right away. Fury replaced shock, and fury solidified into resolution. Emma's remarks seemed to her like a direct challenge to her authority as a mother and a kind of disobedience. Trent, split between his wife and his daughter, sought to lighten the situation, but Emma's conviction left little room for compromise. The siblings stared in quiet, aware they were witnessing a tipping point. Emma was no longer the youngest daughter looking for acceptance. Instead, she was a woman who stood her ground and was prepared to deal with the fallout from her decision. Whispers started to circulate around the Johnston residence. The tiniest nuances, such as a glance, a grin, or a discreet social media message, have always caught the attention of 7 Little Johnston's fans. Emma's secret love was now the focus of constant conjecture. Theories erupted in online forums. While some viewers asserted that Emma's glow was evidence that she was concealing something significant, others said they had spotted Jack in the background of Emma's pictures. There were 2 factions among the fandom: those who thought Emma was getting ready for something significant, and those who didn't think she would ever reject her family. Frame by frame, each new episode of the show was examined. Was Emma concealing something by remaining silent? Was there a hint of something simmering behind the scenes in Amber's severe expression? Fans became investigators, gathering tidbits of information from the tiniest movements. Emma found the conjecture to be both exciting and disturbing. She was aware that she truly loved Jack, but her secret was no longer secure due to the increasing scrutiny. The entire globe was observing, anticipating her next move. Jack was in the middle of a storm he never requested, while the Johnston family struggled with Emma's revelation. Emma was more than simply a girlfriend to him. She was his confidant, his companion, and the person he wished to spend the rest of his life with. Ever since Emma had warned him that her family would not approve, Jack had sensed the tension building. He appreciated Emma's relationship with her parents and was aware of Amber Johnston's protective tendencies. However, he also realized that love occasionally necessitates bravery, even if it means going against the flow. In quiet moments, Jack reassured Emma. He assured her that he would always be there for her, not just as a boyfriend, but as a man prepared to dedicate his life to her. His presence was unwavering and his words were firm. That commitment meant the world to Emma. But Jack wasn't blind to the risks. He was aware that getting married to Emma without her family's approval may result in years of tense interactions, uncomfortable get-togethers, and awkward silences. Nevertheless, he thought their love was worthwhile. Emma should be allowed to choose her own happiness, he thought. The Johnston residence had turned into an emotional battleground. Emma's audacious statement continued to reverberate in the atmosphere. But Amber Johnston was determined to respond to her daughter's disobedience. Amber, the mother who had always taken great satisfaction in providing her kids with firm guidance and unambiguous regulations, was suddenly presented with an unprecedented difficulty. Emma was not allowed to wed Jack. She declared in a firm but stern voice, "Never, ever, not while Amber was involved." Like a hammer, the words fell. For Amber, this was about maintaining control and shielding her daughter from what she saw as a careless choice. Emma saw it as the construction of a wall between her independence and her emotions. Trent attempted to step in and suggest a solution, but Amber's determination remained unwavering. even if it meant jeopardizing their friendship. She felt she was rescuing Emma from a mistake. The siblings realized that this was more than simply a fight. It was a line drawn in the sand, and they watched in quiet with strained faces. Emma felt her mother's ultimatum bearing down on her, but on the inside, her resolve only strengthened. She knew that love requires sacrifice, and she was ready to pay the price. Emma sensed the walls closing in following Amber's ultimatum. The family's harmony was disintegrating. Her father's attempts at reconciliation had failed, and her mother's denial was unwavering. However, Emma's love for Jack was more powerful than tradition, fear, and the pressure of condemnation. During secret talks and snatched moments, Emma and Jack started formulating a strategy. It was discreet, modest, and well-guarded. It was neither opulent nor grand. Whispering to each other, they planned the specifics of a wedding that none of her relatives would be aware of. Every step held risk. A glance could reveal them, a note could be found, or a phone call could be overheard. However, the concealment only strengthened their resolve. This was no longer only about love for Emma. It was also about freedom and demonstrating her ability to make her own decisions. Jack remained by her side, composed and steady. In order to relieve Emma of as much of the load as possible, he pledged to manage the logistics. Together, they selected a modest location, a few close friends, and a date that would be kept a secret until the vows were exchanged. Although the strategy was flimsy, it belonged to them, and Emma had a rush of hope in the silence of those covert preparations. She was crafting her future, step by step, in spite of the laws that shackled her, and she was no longer waiting for permission. There was a lot of emotion the night before the covert wedding. Emma Johnston lay awake, her heart pounding with the pressure of her choice. Although there was silence in the home, a tempest raged inside her head. She recalled the harsh words that had pierced her deeply, her mother's ultimatum. She reflected about her siblings, stuck in a conflict they never requested, and her father's efforts to maintain harmony. She felt guilty because she knew she was going to disobey the people who had brought her up, but excitement, a thrill that coursed through her veins, coexisted with the guilt. She would stand next to Jack tomorrow and make him a lifelong pledge. She would choose freedom over fear and love over obedience tomorrow. Emma gripped her phone and read Jack's final message again. "I'll be waiting for you no matter what happens." He reassured her that she wasn't the only one who had made this decision. Slowly the hours passed. Every darkness felt deeper, every sound in the house louder. Emma questioned whether her family could sense the change in her resolve and what was about to happen. However, she was aware that she couldn't go back now. The morning came with a silent ferocity. Emma Johnston knew when she woke up that this day would forever alter her life. At last, the meticulously prepared, covert plan she and Jack had devised was coming to fruition. Emma slid into a plain dress away from her family's prying eyes, her heart racing with excitement and terror. Jack was waiting, a composed but eager expression on his face. They entered a small, private area together, one that was picked for its significance and seclusion rather than its opulence. No family members, no crowds, and no photographers were present to capture the occasion. The secret was protected by a small group of reliable friends. The atmosphere was both light with affection and weighty with emotion. Every step Emma took as she approached Jack felt like a combination of freedom and defiance. She was moving toward the life she had chosen for herself, away from the tyranny of her family, not merely down a hallway. With conviction, the vows were uttered gently. Jack's words remained firm as he vowed his allegiance, while Emma's voice wavered as she made the eternal promise. A bond that could not be broken by an ultimatum was created by the exchange of rings. Emma experienced a wave of relief as the ceremony came to a close. It was her. She had married the guy she loved in spite of everything, even the pressure of tradition and her mother's prohibition. Although the covert ceremony was over, Emma Johnston was aware that the most difficult portion was yet to come. In the darkness, love had conquered. Rings had been exchanged and vows had been uttered. However, the truth could not be kept secret indefinitely. Emma went back to her family's house with Jack by her side and courage in her heart. Every step she took toward her parents was weighed down by the knowledge of what she had done, and the atmosphere was tense. With a shaky but determined voice, she called her family together. She started, "I have something to tell you." There was silence in the room. Trent leaned forward. Amber's eyes narrowed, and the siblings waited, feeling the weight of what she had said. Emma inhaled deeply before saying, "I'm married to Jack." The secret was out. The response came instantly. The Johnston household was rocked with shock. Amber's expression darkened as her incredulity swiftly gave way to rage. Trent's face was one of subdued destruction, divided between the family's harmony and his daughter's delight. The siblings looked at each other in shock, knowing that the unimaginable had occurred. The revelation was both freeing and horrifying for Emma. She had opted for love over fear and honesty over secrecy. However, she realized the fight was far from finished as she met her mother's eyes. The Johnston household was overcome with emotion when Emma revealed her secret marriage. More than just startling news, Amber Johnston saw it as a betrayal and a rejection of her authority as a mother and matriarch. Amber's voice rose with a mixture of shock and rage as her features stiffened. She was unable to accept Emma's actions. She saw the marriage as reckless, careless, and a clear violation of the principles she had fought so hard to establish in her kids. Her remarks were piercing, unforgiving, and brimming with the anguish of a mother who believed she had lost control. Her tone wavered between anger and grief as she continued, "You went behind our backs. You didn't follow my instructions." Amber's feelings were too intense for Trent to soothe. She interpreted Emma's decision as rebellion rather than love. Realizing they were witnessing a rift that might never fully heal, the siblings watched in startled silence as the dispute played out. Emma's heart hurt, but she refused to back down. The severity of her mother's response shocked her, even though she had anticipated wrath. She did not, however, regret her choice. She would never go back because she had made the decision to love Jack. Nothing was the same in the Johnston home. The family now lived in the shadow of an irrevocable decision after Emma's covert marriage was made public, and Amber's rage rocked the walls. The table became tense during meals. Once laughing conversations now ended in silence. Every look conveyed unspoken words, and each silence served as a reminder of the rift that had caused them to become apart. With profound and unwavering disappointment, Amber stayed away from Emma. Trent made an attempt to close the distance, but the weight of hurt and rage overcame him. Caught in the middle, the siblings found it difficult to adjust to the new situation. Some quietly backed Emma, while others were afraid of the repercussions of opposing their parents. Emma could feel the distance widening. She had made the costly decision to choose love. Her beloved house suddenly felt like a battlefield, and the warmth of family had become frigid. She refused to regret her choice. Nevertheless, in spite of the suffering, Jack served as her future spouse and partner. The fallout was structural rather than just emotional. Once a representation of unity, the Johnston family was now split. The question of whether they could ever recover, or if Emma's decision had left a wound too deep to repair, persisted as the days stretched into weeks. The outside world was already aflutter as the Johnston family dealt with the consequences of Emma's covert marriage. The revelation of the reality caused a flurry of opinions among 7 Little Johnston's fans, who had been following the storyline at every turn. Reactions were all over social media. Some applauded Emma's bravery, seeing her choice as a daring declaration of love and autonomy. They saw her as a metaphor of following one's passion at all costs and respected her bravery in defying her mother's order. But some took Amber's side. They contended that Emma had behaved irresponsibly, that she was too young, and that her mother's refusal was motivated by protection rather than control. They saw Emma's covert wedding as a risky error rather than a romantic act of rebellion. As viewers examined every detail, fan forums were full of theories, comment sections became debates, and hashtags became popular. Was Emma self-centered or courageous? Was Amber overbearing or just worried? The fandom was divided, and the discourse became louder with each passing day. Emma couldn't help but notice the noise. She had chosen love, but now she was at the center of a public maelstrom, her private life converted into a show. Every applause and every rebuke served as a reminder that her choice had repercussions that extended well beyond her immediate family. The storm had passed, but the air around the Johnston family was still heavy. Emma Johnston had made her choice, and Jack now stood by her as husband and partner. The covert wedding was no longer a secret, and the repercussions had caused scars that would take time to heal. For Emma, the future was both fascinating and uncertain. She had forged her own path, disobeyed her mother's orders, and followed her heart. However, she was aware that the path ahead would not be simple. Every family gathering, every conversation, every glance from Amber held the weight of unresolved anguish. Jack, steadfast as usual, reminded Emma that love was not just about the vows they had spoken, but about the life they would make together. He pledged to stand steadfast, to weather the storms, and to help her find courage when doubt crept in. Amber, meantime, grappled with her feelings. Anger lingered, but behind it was anguish, the ache of a mother who feared losing her daughter to choices she could not control. Trent prayed for reconciliation, but even he realized healing would take time, patience, and perhaps forgiveness that had not yet been found. The siblings watched calmly, knowing the family stood at a crossroads. Would Emma's choice create a lasting rift, or would they be able to reunite? Let us know in the comments. And stay tuned by subscribe to our channel to get more updates like this. Thank you, bye guys.